What's up everybody, man? Back, welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be checking out and reviewing the new Playmates Tiamat from Godzilla Kong the New Empire. This is part of their Wave 2 set, which was part of the set with Energized Godzilla, Kong with the axe, of course Tiamat, and then the giant Mothra, which we've just checked out. And so today we will be checking out everybody's favorite new addition to the MonsterVerse, Tiamat. Tiamat randomly became one of the most important monsters in the MonsterVerse, and I have no idea why. She has appeared in like more crossovers and more things than pretty much anything else. Tiamat, of course, appears in Godzilla Kong the New Empire for what essentially is like a cameo role, but she's also been in comic books. She was in the Justice League crossover comic. She was also in the new Kong Survival Instinct game, so she's been making her rounds, and it's a very popular kaiju, which also has never looked consistent. She actually has never looked the same from one appearance to the next. Her first appearance was in Godzilla Dominion, and she looked wildly different. She didn't have arms. She was also purple and blue, which I actually thought that color scheme was a little cooler than the pink and green. That was just me. I thought that the purple blue was pretty rad. It's not really a color scheme you see on many kaiju. I guess neither is pink and green, but I just thought the purple blue was pretty sick, although I like this design a lot more. She then appeared in the Godzilla Kong Justice League comic, where she looked nothing like she had previously. It's barely even recognizably Tiamat. She then appears in Godzilla Kong the New Empire and Kong Survival Instinct, and then I believe another comic recently, where she has varying degrees of changes from one thing to the next within her design. But I really like this general Tiamat design. This figure actually looks a lot more like the concept art that Dope Pope did back in the day, because she's kind of the monster versus Manda, which is awesome for people like me who love classic Toho monsters. And I think Manda is a very underrated, pretty cool monster, so I was happy to see Manda get paid some tribute in the MonsterVerse in the form of Tiamat. And so let's check out the Playmates figure and see what we think. I think Tiamat's a very cool kaiju, very poorly used in New Empire. I can't believe they wasted her and blew her up. That really is disappointing. Godzilla should have let her go, man. He could have slapped her around for a second and then sent her on her way. Dude's just a bully. But let's get around and check it out. As always, I really like the Godzilla Kong New Empire Playmates boxes. I think they're really slick. I really like the lightning on this one. It stands out to me on this a lot more than it has previously. The box with the crystals is sick. Godzilla and Kong appearing on the front and side looks great. Other side's just crystals. Back of the box shows Tiamat in all her glory, as well as a bunch of other Godzilla Kong figures. Tiamat has a little description here saying Tiamat with Submarine. Deep in the Arctic Ocean, the bioluminescent power of Tiamat pushes back the darkness to reveal intruders, like Monarch's recon submarine. I guess that's what was happening in that scene. I wouldn't have gotten that from the movie. It really more seemed like Godzilla woke her up and then killed her for being scared, but that's just me. Either way, good box, but let's get it out. Well, here's the submarine. It actually looks really good. It's fairly large as well, a lot bigger than the old battleship from Destruction City, so you can see the comparison there. It's way longer, and it looks really good. They have a lot of line work on it. I like all the little details, all the little digits sticking off of it. They've got a bunch of stuff going on in the back, including a nice little propeller. It looks really good. I like it. I like it a lot, and I think it's a great addition for Tiamat, considering she doesn't really have any ability that you could give her as an accessory. She doesn't have something as easy as an atomic breath to give her, and so I think the submarine is a really cool choice, especially because it is how we're introduced to Tiamat in the movie. And here is Tiamat herself. I actually haven't really messed around with her, so I want to do that on camera, and I'm actually really impressed with the range of motion she's got. I'm glad they gave her so many digits. There's a character I'll compare her to in a minute that Playmates also handled that I don't think they handled nearly as well, but this is actually really cool. Oh, they did a good job giving her lots of ability to kind of spin around and swim the way she does in the movie. I really liked the way Tiamat moved. I thought that was a very cool thing, and I like whenever she strikes her little seahorse-like poses and then goes into an attack. It's pretty sweet, man. Actually, this might be one of Playmates' best handled Godzilla figures. I think that this is pretty solid. There's a lot that I'm liking here. It doesn't really matter if I compare her to the movie and she doesn't look as much like the movie, mostly because the MonsterVerse can't nail down a consistent design for Tiamat, so I can't fault Playmates for looking a little inconsistent with it. Also trying to figure figure out what is she supposed to be posed like? Like, what is her natural base pose if we line up the underbelly? I think this is her natural base pose with the arch. That looks great. Wow, she looks really cool. One of my favorite things about Tiamat as well is the fact that she's kind of like a mythological Chinese dragon or like Asian dragon. I think it is just beautiful. I think it is a really pretty kaiju. She is so cool. One of my faves. She's got these mini frills on her, so she isn't consistent with the GVK design. She's more like, I think, Kong's Survival Instinct, I think, has kind of that thing going on where there are mini frills all over the body. Guess now that I'm looking at the comic, she doesn't really have as many frills in the comic as she does in the movie and the video game. I think she actually most resembles the video game. The coloring doesn't look much like the game at all, but maybe it's because Tiamat can change colors, but she most resembles the game. The shape of her head frills, the placement of the barbs, especially the two sticking off the top of the head, and then the triangular frills all over the body. That's all straight out of the game. A game which I have not played. As far as the sculpt goes, they've done a pretty good job. Now, the face is a little more smooth than I would like, but it still does look pretty good. I like the area around the eyes. I think it looks pretty nice. They've added all of the barbs, which is really cool. It gives her this really wispy look. I love the jaw. I think they've done a great job with that. Her big head frills look great. Those are looking fantastic. She's got really nice scales running all the way down the back and throughout the body. I'm glad that they did that, and they're very consistent through the end where they become a little more wrinkly than scaly, but that's looking pretty solid. The frills all over the body looks fantastic, and they're this really soft plastic, so they're able to kind of wave and move with your hands. That's really cool. I love that. Her cute little arms and legs have a pretty nice texture on them. They've got this kind of meshy web on the back, but then they've got little scale bumps all over the front. The hands are super cute, as are the feet, and then the tip of the tail here is kind of wrinkly, but it looks really cool. This might be my favorite Playmates figure they've done. It very well could be. The paint job, it isn't accurate, and I don't know if I care. Tiamat is a kaiju that just doesn't look consistent ever. The MonsterVerse has not nailed down a design for her. Her coloration on her head frills actually in Kong's Survival Instinct is my favorite, with the weird Ultraman background-esque paint job. The movie looks pretty sick as well with all the pink dots all over it, but that just ain't what she used to look like. She used to be all blue. So do I even care that they're like weirdly yellow here? It's not the most pretty Tiamat color. In fact, none of her appearances seem to have that, but I really can't judge that much because her design changes so often. The pink on the inside of the mouth looks great. The green all over her face looks great. They've picked a really great greenish turquoise color to go through the body that makes her look very aquatic, while still retaining the green color aesthetic from Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. Not that you can tell, she's glowing pink like a glow stick, but she does have a pretty green design in that movie. I love the pink that they've picked all over her body. That's pretty New Empire, which is pretty sick. I like that a lot, especially considering this is supposed to be the Tiamat from New Empire. And then they've got this really nice tan that fades into a turquoise-ish pinkish color on her underbelly that looks really good as well. The tip of the tail is also painted really nice, going from pink to green and back to pink. I'm really happy with it. As for articulation, she's got this fantastic range of motion. Super fun, easy figure to mess around with, to twist up, to work with. Her jaw can open and close, her head can turn all the way around, her little tiny arms can kick out, they can also go out to the side and open up. That's great. This top piece is on a ball joint, this middle piece is on a ball joint, another middle piece on a ball joint. Her back legs are also attached to a ball joint. The legs themselves can kick around, swing around, and come all the way out and then back in. And then the tail itself has this little ball joint. In total, I'm counting 11 points of articulation. Really wonderful. Unfortunately, I don't own any Mandas, so for the figure comparison here, here's the best I got. It is a Manda from a Destruction City pack or minifigure pack I got when I was a little kid, and you can definitely see the inspiration between the two designs, with the wispy barbs all over the face looking very beautiful, and also the teeny little hands sticking off, which is super cute. There's the two of them next to each other. Obviously, Tiamat towers over the little Manda, but I can't hold that against the Manda. It's a minifig. Very cute. I really like it, and I love the lineage between the two, the inspiration from one to the next. I gotta get me a bigger Manda at some point. Although I've seen the Final Wars Bandai Manda, and I think it's a pretty abominable figure. I also gotta get more of these Tiamats, because I want to get into figure painting, and I'd love to have a couple variations of Tiamat painted like her various designs over the years. I think that'd be a lot of fun. What a vast improvement from their last attempt at a serpentine kaiju. This is the Playmates Warbat 2021, and this is their new Tiamat. They are in a similar scale, and they look pretty cool next to each other. This would be a pretty sick fight. I think Tiamat would clear a Warbat. I think she would just eat the thing for breakfast. And that's pretty sick, man. And boy, did Playmates just step it up to the next level in terms of the paint job, the sculpt, the articulation, the general pose. All of it is so much improved from the Warbat to the Tiamat. Maybe it's because the Warbat doesn't really have as much of a same body structure, so it would be hard to make the Warbat stand if they did it differently. But between the two of them, I think they nailed it with the Tiamat, and I do think the Warbat, in retrospect, could have been a lot better. I figured I'd pair Tiamat up against the Kong that she fought, which is Kong 2021 in that video game. There's the two of them standing off next to each other. She's a lot bigger than Kong in terms of her overall proportions and her size. I didn't play that game, so I have no idea how their fight goes. I would imagine Kong should struggle quite a bit in that fight before he sends her running. I do think Kong would take her if he had the axe, though. Otherwise, she might be able to drag him into the water and drown him, as she does take Godzilla on in the comics. If you remember, Tiamat puts up an incredible fight against Godzilla in the comics underwater, and it's only once he gets her on land that he's able to gain the upper hand. So that would be a pretty tough fight for Kong. There's the two of them standing off. And then finally, here's Godzilla, the murderer himself. And I could have picked the energized Godzilla, but it is Playmates' worst figure they've ever made, and I won't forgive them for wasting my money. So I figured I'd go with the Godzilla Radio Tower 2021 version for the two of them to stand off. Pretty solid fight right here, pretty solid size. And of course, these were the first two that met, as Tiamat first did take on Godzilla in Godzilla Dominion comic book long before New Empire, the movie. And I love that you can actually have her wrap around Godzilla like this. And she actually is holding on. That's a pretty sick way to display her. Maybe I gotta figure out a way to display her like this, because this is pretty rad. I like this a lot. And it's all because of Playmates' increased articulation that I can do this. Pretty sick, man. Look at that. I might have to display something like this. I think this is it. This is the pose that I think I'll try and display them in. I'm not sure I'll be able to fit them on my shelf like this, but this is a pretty fun pose. Godzilla versus Tiamat, as it was intended to be. Well, after rambling on about Tiamat and this figure for so long, you now know that Tiamat's one of my favorite kaiju in the MonsterVerse. She has been since the Godzilla Dominion comic book. I thought she was rad in that comic, and I was so happy to see her get more appearances, but I am rather disappointed with their use of her New Empire. I don't know, I think in the new comic book there's a hint that she can regenerate. I also know she's got a kid out there somewhere, so we'll probably see more Tiamat soon. But here she is, the queen of the ocean. I don't think it's any surprise after all this ranting about the figure. This, I think, truly is my favorite Playmates MonsterVerse figure they've made. I think they did a really wonderful job with it. I'm very happy with it. And because of Tiamat's inconsistent design, there's a lot that I can forgive here. Overall, I'm gonna give the Playmates Tiamat a 10 out of 10, baby. Maybe Playmates' first actually earned 10 out of 10, that I'm not giving it because of some gimmick or some silly factor. This one I truly think is a wonderful Tiamat for the lower end market, and also it's like our only Tiamat out there. So right now she's killing it, and she's standing at the top of her game as the only one that you can get, really. So I'm very happy with it. What do you think of the Playmates Tiamat? Do you have it? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment down below and let me know. I would love to hear what you guys think of this thing. Do you like it as much as I do? I'd also like to give a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. It's because of the support I get on the Patreon that I'm able to review figures like this for you in the first place. Without them, I wouldn't be able to buy these things. So big thank you to the patrons on Patreon. I really appreciate it. If you want to support the Patreon, you can use the link in the description below, where you can get early access to content, access to the Discord community, and more. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you all next time for the next one. D-Man, out.